the recent piracy case off of the coast of Somalia, I think, is a really good opportunity for us to reflect on globalization. And so what is globalization? It's been usually defined as the flows of capital, people, goods, and commodities in a capitalist world system that sort of intensified connections across regions. On the one hand, for the past several months, we've been hearing about the American financial crisis, where credit has frozen and banks are running out of money and the economy is kind of on a downward spiral, right, because credit is not flowing well. And then on the other hand, you have the piracy issue where goods and commodities that are moving, being transported by ship from Asia, usually through the Gulf of Aden, into the Red Sea, into the Med, and then to Europe, right? So that's a faster, cheaper way rather than going around Africa to get to Europe and the United States. And so with the pirates who are attacking these ships and boarding them, taking them over, and then holding the seamen who work the ships, holding them for hostage and requesting ransom from the shipping companies, you see that that the trade, goods and commodities, are actually not flowing as smoothly, and that so we can understand the piracy as a disruption of globalization in that particular part of the world. Now, the reason that the Gulf of Aden is seeing this piracy is that it's a high traffic shipping area. The Gulf of Aden is seen as a choke point area, and so that is a narrow passageway in the ocean. So different straits. So if we look at the map, here is the Gulf of Aden, which is a very narrow passageway, and here's the Horn of Africa, which is where Somalia is. And so those 20,000 ships who are coming in annually are going through this passageway, through this choke point, up through the Suez Canal and into the Mediterranean, which is where you know, a lot of other major ports are located. So the trade between Asia and Europe often crosses through Southeast Asia, across into the Indian Ocean, and up here again through the Gulf of Aden and the Suez Canal. And also it does affect the shipping to the United States, because that's a shorter distance and a more efficient way than rather than going around South Africa. With regard to the Saudi tanker, oil tanker that was recently captured, I believe it was carrying $100 million worth of oil. Piracy historically is something that was a problem to maritime trade, particularly if you think about older forms of globalization and trade that were going on, say, in the 16th century when Europe was expanding and colonizing the Americas and other parts of the world. There were pirates, so the pirates that we know of, you know, Blackbeard and Johnny Depp, those are sort of the pirates that have become sort of mythical in pop culture. Workers and migrants are also moving around the world, and that's sort of what one of my interests is that the Philippines is the largest exporting country of labor. And so Filipinos actually comprise almost 30%. The recent statistic for 2006-2007, I believe, was 28% of shipping labor is Filipino. I think the other reason that people might have an interest in this case, particularly people in the Twin Cities, is the fact that the pirates are coming from Somalia, and as we know, there's a very large Somali population in the Twin Cities. The Twin Cities has the largest community, from what I've been hearing, outside of Mogadishu, so it's quite large. And the reason that you know, the piracy can also be attributed to the fact that Somalia has not had a functioning government since 1991, or a stable government, and so there is, you know, a civil war and poverty, etc., that's also motivating the pirates or the folks who are involved to participate in these kinds of activities. And so we can't sort of forget the context of Somalia and what's going on there and how that's impacting the situation at sea.